What's up, YouTube? Today I have a little bit of a different video. This commission is not a typical one that I usually get. It's not really for an installation, but rather a chassis to go with a Saber that my client will actually install himself. So I kind of wanted to go over that just to make this as like a little instruction video to make it as easy as possible to install it. So I'm just going to be going over that. So to the client, you have two main body chassis that I decided to make for you. The only difference, I'll see if I can kind of show it here. So these are where the buttons go. The circular little depression right here, that's basically the size of the switch plunger from the control box. This is for a SB Sabers high ground. Right, high ground. So in the control box, they have these plungers. They're about that big, and they press down. And so there's a little square channel inside, and that is where these little, in between, these little tactile buttons will fit into. And I'll be able to show that later on as well. So the only difference, back to what I was saying earlier, was that I flattened this out a little bit to give a little bit more clearance because the plungers do stick down into the hilt a little bit. I think there's a little room to play, so I'm not sure if this was really necessary, but because these are going overseas, I wanted to make sure I got this right the first time. And if this doesn't work, you've got another one, and one of them should work. So that's that. So I'm going to start with the speaker. I'm going to get one of these out of the way and just kind of demo it with this one. So this fits a 28mm speaker, and it is fully enclosed. Inside, if I can show it, let's see. That is really hard to see. But inside, there's like a little lip, and that lip is what this part of the speaker will sit on. So it's very simple. It pressure fits, and you just push it into the opening. But what you want to look for is the little tabs that you solder to. Get that to focus. There's like, you'll see that the lip has like gaps in it. There's two gaps across from each other. That's where those tabs will align and fit into. And then you can press this speaker all the way in until it is, until it's flush. So, see if I can do this. Of course, you can do something off camera, and then when you're on, it totally doesn't work. So once you got it almost in, if you can kind of see, it's like a little bit off. I use a tool. I wouldn't recommend pushing down this way, but try to push against the lip of the speaker and also the lip of the chassis. That way you don't go, beyond that little rim and damage the speaker. But once you get it to fully kind of sit in there, you might have to work at it a little bit. It'll look something like that, nice and fully enclosed. Now, you really want to do that when you're finally ready to put it in. But let's say I don't know, you did something out of order and you needed to get it back out. It'd be really hard to get it out this way. So what I did is I added a little hole. See if I can get the right angle. Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be really hard to see. But in this battery tab section down here, there's a little hole, and I'll kind of show it this way. I think you can actually get an Allen key down in there, and what that is doing is it presses on the back of the speaker, and that's kind of a much safer area to be able to push against and be able to pop out the speaker. So I gave you that as a means to get that out if you ever so needed. And then for wiring the speaker and the wire channels that I provided, it's gonna be, yeah, I'm not even gonna try. There's little holes that are towards the outer edges and I'll show you. So it goes in like that. Right now I'm inside that little wire channel, and as you can see, that's where it pops through right there, and this is where your board would go. So very easy. You just kind of, you know, just find that channel, slide the wire through, and it very easily goes to where the board is supposed to be. So that's pretty much all there is to it for the speaker. You know, you'd solder the wires to the speaker, fish those wires through, and smack it in there. Next, I'll go over the battery tabs. I already installed them on this one just to kind of show you, but as you can see, the spring side negative is down there, and you can kind of see that button top up there and the positive. There's little square depressions that they pressure fit into, so I don't think you'll really need any glue or to like heat up the chassis to kind of like fit it in, and then once it cools, it's kind of, you know, compressed around it. It's fitting really well just as is without doing anything. If you wanted to, you could. I'd probably recommend just putting a little dab of glue, if you so desire, if you feel like it's popping out on you too much. But yeah, I would recommend also for that to fish the wire through the bottom section, whether you put the negative up here or down there, it doesn't really matter, whatever you find is easier when you're wiring your Saber. But the first hole, the first hole right here, that's from that bottom battery tab area. The top one, it's gonna be really difficult to see. Let's see if I can move this around. See, you can see that little square hole down there. That will be your other battery tab kind of wire hole. So what I do is I try to fiddle and fish the wire through first, and then once I have it sticking out into the battery, or the board area and where the battery tabs go, then I focus on soldering. You know, I don't want anything connected to it, you know, while I'm trying to fish it through. It's just less stuff to worry about. I'm gonna try to see if I can show you right here. There we go. Oops. All right, so as you can see, I got the wire poking through there, and it is going through where that battery tab would be. So that is that. Board obviously goes there. It's designed for a prof feed. I think I have a spare one right here that I could fit in. Maybe not. Let me see. There we go. So it's just a nice snap fit down in there. Oops. Boom. I don't really feel like any glue is needed, or E6000, so that's a pretty good pressure fit. You do have access to your SD card without moving the board. You'll need like a kind of a pair of tweezers, and you can just pull it out just like that, and then, you know, reverse process for putting it in. Or you could pull up on the front end like that. So you got a couple options there for ease of access. So moving on up, up here there's two holes plus a really small one. The two bigger ones are brass rods that wires will actually fish through, and the third one is for this little piece. These are actually spare parts from like KR Sabers Goth Eco chassis with the crystal chambers. So it kind of made like a similar design for the crystal chamber, not necessarily in aesthetics, but how these rods function. So these connect onto the main body like that. Down here there's those two holes for the brass rods. That will be where your wires fish through up to this top portion. I noticed that I designed these bodies a little bit differently on accident. So on this one, you see there's that little channel. You could put an accent pixel on the bottom of the crystal chamber here. But if you were to use this one, you can easily put it on the top side of the crystal chamber. So it's just kind of, there's two different ways of doing it. Either one works. As you can see, the holes on either side of the crystal, there's an opening on both sides. So whether you put a pixel on the top or bottom, or you could even possibly do both. So that option is there for you as well. But I'll kind of show how this works. So I designed this crystal chamber in halves for it to print as cleanly as possible. But what that also allows is with this provided crystal chamber that I'll send with the chassis, you can pop it in to that crystal chamber. I don't know if this is showing up on camera very well. And you can just kind of clamp down over it. So that is super easy and a cool way to secure that into place. That little rod I mentioned goes through that little hole up top. Oops, let's see. Kind of helps align that top portion as well. And as you can see, you can kind of see it through those openings up in the front. Kind of a cool little accent piece. And then all of those rods line up with their respective holes in the lower portion. And it can kind of press fit in there. And it'll end up looking like that. And then you can, I would actually recommend putting just little dabs of E6000 just to make sure everything fits together properly and securely. Up here is where one of your pixel connectors will go. It's turning into a longer video than I thought, but that's okay. This one I have sanded. Well, actually, with a little bit of sanding, you'll obviously be able to fit one perfectly in there. So that's where that goes. And then this black one will actually be the connecting end to that, and this will be the piece that stays inside the hilt. With a little bit of sanding, you'll be able to fit one of these blade side connectors in there. So that will transfer all of the positive, negative, and data for the blade up to the blade. Go figure. And then this one, I rub and buffed it a little bit because if you look down into the emitter, you'll actually be able to see it. So there's a little bit of design there, a little bit of pizzazz. So that will have one of these same connectors in it, but this is what will actually connect to your blade. And this will stay in the emitter as well. Let's see. So it is the wires in the way. There we go. You'll be able to fit it in like that. So I am kind of test fitting everything. Everything seems to be working really well. I'll show you let's see, fitting in one of the tactile buttons really quick. All right. So as I said, there's those two spots where these would go. So I recommend kind of using a pair of little tweezers here. These are really helpful. You'll be able to kind of drop it in there. And what I noticed was one of the channels kind of press fit. Let's see. Is it going to do it this time? Maybe not. So I would recommend using a little dab of E6000 on the back side of it, or even super glue. So that's what that will look like, and there'll be one in there as well, obviously. And then this little rectangular hole here and here, that's where the wires fish through to where the board is. And you can kind of see that. I'll do that with this one. So I'm through that little hole right there, and it's going through there. You got this one. This one's a little bit easier, and it's going through down there. Oops. So that's how all your button wires will go through to the board. And that, I mean, that is pretty much it. Hopefully that was a good enough explanation to kind of help and guide through installing this chassis to the client. I hope this works out very well for you. You had mentioned that you really wanted to make this a special Saber because unfortunately SP Sabers closed down their shop. So hopefully this does it for you. Tried to make a pretty cool design, do different colors and everything. So yeah, can't wait for you to get this in your hands and install it for yourself. As far as I know, I think this would be your first Saber that you're installing, so should be super fun. Hopefully I made this easy enough to where you don't get too frustrated, so hopefully it's a good first experience. All right, so thank you for watching the video, and to everybody else who just kind of, you know, tuned in and just watched me explain all this chassis shenanigans, thank you for watching. I am open for commissions. This isn't something I usually do, but I don't mind doing it. So if this is something that you would like you would want to install something for yourself, but you can't find a chassis for it and you're not really into designing one for yourself, I'm down for you to just send me the hilt. I'll, you know, do my stuff in Fusion and design a chassis and send that back to you. So that's something I'm open to doing. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it that I got for this video. So I got a couple Sabers lined up, so there'll be some demo videos coming out soon. So if you'd like to watch those, you know, definitely be on the lookout for those. So thank you for watching, and may the force be with you as always.